Welcome back to the Tournament Center. I'm Randy Buehler here with Brian David Marshall and being joined by Steve O'Mahony Schwartz. We're in New York this weekend. We've been talking, there's just a ton of history in this city, around the Pro Tour, and so we wanted to talk to Steve. Now, you've been here since the beginning, right? You were playing Magic at Neutral Ground, even before there was a Neutral Ground.
Even before Neutral Ground even existed, we were playing.
Well,
there was always a Magic scene here.
What was the store you played in before we opened?
Store? What was it? No store. Blimpies. We used to get together and play Blimpies by my high school. You know, a couple of us would get together. There was a couple of stores like Chameleon Comics, some of the other guys.
Dragon's Den, I think.
Dragon's Den. I was like 12 years old. I was anyone to play against at the time was okay.
At 12? And then you opened Neutral Ground, right?
Yeah. Well, we started running, actually, first we started running tournaments. It was called New York Magic.
Okay.
It's called Gray Matter now. It's still in existence.
Right.
And we started running tournaments at the Roosevelt Hotel.
Okay.
In November of 1994 was our first tournament. We gave away a set of Arabian Nights.
Nice.
I was pretty excited.
And Steve played at that tournament.
I played in that tournament. It was kind of exciting. I was like, wow, card tournament? I was like, oh my God, to play Magic, but it's like a competition. And like, I'd never been to like a convention before, like a card convention, comic convention. I never really went to any of those.
So how'd you do? Did you win the set of Arabians?
I did not win the set of Arabians.
It was actually Saul. Do you remember Saul?
Oh yeah.
Who still goes to Neutral Ground all these years later. He won with a mono red burn deck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I did some money in New York Magic. Definitely not the first time. I was a little behind the curve in terms of competitive. I mean, it was really competitive back then in New York.
Right.
But then by '96, the first Pro Tour shows up in what, the Puck building, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Now you played that Pro Tour, right?
Oh yeah, I played juniors in that Pro Tour.
In the juniors division, it looks like that top 8 looks better than the Masters top 8, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of, this is the predecessor. All these people all of a sudden, came from these juniors top 8.
Well, you played that, Finkel.
Finkel played that.
Bob Maher played in that event.
Bob Maher, Nate Clark, Mark
One of the great deck designers of all time from New York City played in that event and made the top 8. Ross Sclafani. Nobody knows who this guy is.
Was it Graham?
Graham Todimer.
Graham Todimer.
The juniors had figured out Necropotence. The Masters, the Senior Pro Tour, no.
Graham's deck was just in another league.
Yeah,
I mean, compared to Masters, juniors, didn't matter who it was, Graham was going to win.
I totally agree.
Our deck was, I played the Simnicus Ross and made top 8. Our white-red Sunstone snow-covered land deck was pretty good, but when there's a Necropotence to play, it didn't really matter all that much.
So then you went from the Junior Pro Tour, you went to the Masters, and I mean, a guy who I think, I'm actually surprised at how few votes you've gotten in the Hall of Fame, quite frankly, because I mean, back in the day, John Finkel was #1, sure, maybe I was #2, but Steve has also got a very legit case. 3 top 8s, a win,
second place.
A second place, #3 in lifetime earnings at the point where you retired.
No, I think it was 3 in Pro Tour points.
3 in Pro Tour points.
3 in Pro Tour points.
Clearly the best Rochester drafter of all time.
At the moment.
Defensible.
There have been some other people who...
Yeah, at the time. Sure, at the time.
Yeah.
So then what's happened to you since you retired?
I kind of joining the real world, doing some other different things. I never really stopped playing Magic. I stopped playing competitive Magic for a little while. Okay. But then, here and there, you get a little itch. Brian calls you up. It's like someone wants to draft. Then there's a Grand Prix, it's limited. It's like, I can open up some packs and play. So, especially moving now, I lived in Boston for 7 years. Now to be back in New York last year, it's just like, oh my God, I gotta go play some Magic. I gotta go game. Like, look at all these other people who still play Magic in New York. It's like, you gotta go. Because,
The local play group's pretty good.
Yeah.
You just played Finkel's place, right?
Yeah, we played John's, and when you hear when John goes 6-0, you weren't there. I was like, man, I had to be there to beat John. I mean, come on. What am I thinking? You can't just let John win all the time. John wins a lot in our private drafts.
All right.
Nobody noticed. But maybe I should have said that.
All right. So then, what was it like to have Worlds come back to New York after 12 years after that first one?
It's just exciting to see it. It's it's the same, but it's not the same. It's bigger now. There's more prizes. It's more competitive. Everyone's just really interested in competing and trying to break cards, trying to make decks that are just bizarre. I don't know what to say. I was never too much of a deck designer myself. So, I think it's just pretty exciting. And to be back in New York, kind of where the Pro Tour started.
You've been playing over in side events?
Yeah, mostly, we play amongst ourselves inside.
Drafting?
I did play in one of the Vroom card tournaments. Didn't go so well. But once you had one loss, you couldn't win the card anymore. It's
been kind of crazy, too, to see how many familiar faces have sort of come into this building over the course of the weekend. Chris Pakula, Dave Price, Adam Katz, just a bunch of guys.
All sorts of people who have just top 8s in New York City.
Top 8s everywhere, absolutely.
I mean, you can try and quit playing Magic, but you can't. I mean,
nobody ever really does.
Nobody can. It's just too much fun.
Daniel O'Mahony Schwartz, your brother played in Worlds. He swept Legacy. With
he 5-0'd, yeah.
He 5-0'd Legacy with a homebrew. He basically said, okay, I'm going to take Counterbalance Top. That's really good.
Oh, yeah.
Dark Confidant. That's really good.
It's good with Top.
Good. Tarmogoyf.
And of course, Force of Will.
And Force of Will, absolutely.
Oh, nice.
We
just smashed it all together, and he 5-0'd.
Yeah, his deck was good. His first draft deck was just the most insane elf deck I've ever seen. Like he won the judges deck check to stems. His cards were so. when the second Cloud Trust hit play, when the second 7/7 hit play, the one hit play on the 5th turn, the other hit play on the 6th turn, and his opponent was not very happy.
Wow.
He got deck checked for card stamps.
That's funny.
He had like 2 Imperious Perfects, mono green.
Wow.
With like a last shot and Oblivion. His deck was just beyond ridiculous.
Where did he finish?
75th.
Solid.
So what do you look?
Type 2 wasn't that good to him.
What do you look for tomorrow? Who do you think is going to win Worlds?
Well, it's going to be really close between Patrick and Gabriel and Steve. I mean, those guys just live, eat, and breathe Magic, which is great. It's great. I mean, it's just really hard to do, and those guys love playing. They love learning cards, decks. They love building decks, and I think the decks they're playing are much better. They're both playing Dragonstorm.
Right.
So
So you got them meeting in the semis. Who wins when they play each other?
Oh, I don't know. They're both really good. And the decks are the same. It's going to be a lot of coin flips when they're playing Dragonstorm.
Sure.
But besides their decks being good, they both have a great handful on matchups. Yeah. They both play, I think a lot of people, they try to pick up a deck like Dragonstorm, and they'll just sit down and play it, and they might lose because they missed one little thing, and it's just, if I played this yesterday, a couple games, I would have noticed that, I had another, where they do a couple more points.
That happened when we were testing. If we missed putting a counter on a storage land, it was off in the game.
Yeah.
So it's a really very detail-oriented matchup.
But those guys are tight. Yeah. All right, well, thanks for chatting with us, Steve. We'll let you get back over to the side draft circuit.
Thanks, Steve.
Anytime.
See you around. For the Tournament Center, this is Randy Buehler, signing off.